All right, guys, so we're out here working on the body kit tonight for the EZGO. You can see we got it rolled out in the driveway here. Still a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. We'll get that cleaned up. So a little bit of wiring tidy up. We're gonna put the body panels on here with some towels just so it doesn't get scratched. And I'm not gonna film it, or I'm not gonna film in detail. I'm just gonna put the time lapse on. There's not much to it. We're just screwing the body panels together. If there's anything to talk about, we'll just pause the time lapse. We've got the factory dash over here. We put the first coat of body and trim paint, or bumper and trim paint, whatever it's called, on it. It's cleaned up pretty nice. We're gonna put one more coat, but I think it's gonna turn out pretty well. So we'll get time lapse going and see how far we can get before we lose daylight. All right, so before we actually mount the front cowl, we got to take care of all the wiring on this. So this is the turn signal stock, and what we did, I don't think the phone's gonna show that, but we just drilled a small hole up under the dash, right there. So this can go in there. It's out of the way. Not really gonna see too much of it. Comes out over here. And then we need to mount this box right here. So I've already marked one screw location there. We're gonna take this back off, we'll mount this, and we'll be ready to put all this back together. All right, guys, this is the next day. We just set the body on for now, but this thing is really looking sharp. Really think this is the right call for it. Nothing's attached just yet. The front part, the hood, that'll be sitting up a little bit higher. Starting to look like a golf cart again, not just a frame sitting in the garage. All right, guys, it's been a few days since I last filmed anything on this. We did get the front end of this thing finished up. Looks really good. Got the support up here. It's just hand tight for now. We may end up having to take that back off. So the front is all put together. We've got the rivets in it. Lights are hooked up. I still got to figure out something about these panels right here. They're missing. We actually have that one. It's a little jacked up. Need to figure out something here. I may 3D print something. I may get something laser cut. Not entirely sure. But we'll cross that bridge here shortly. We did get a new mount for the controller. This one unfortunately has a bolt broke off in it right there. And unfortunately, there we go. Unfortunately, it broke off at an angle to where drilling it out is pretty much impossible. I do have a welder. We could weld a nut to this thing, back it out. I'm pretty much out of gas in the bottle. I don't want to buy another bottle, and that one's long past its inspection date. So it's gonna be a giant hassle to get that thing swapped out. So we just ordered a new one of these. Got some more paste to put on here. I'm gonna get that installed. Did label these wires right here that go to the controller. I need to label a couple of others there. I'm gonna label the ones for the motor, clean up the wiring here. Got a few more things. We're gonna start buttoning this thing up, get the body mounted, and we'll get this thing on the road shortly. All right, guys, so we're in the garage, shaded, a little easier to see. Let's see if I can move this around. So on this old one, kind of see in there. Got it drilled most of the way out. The problem is it broke at an angle, so really we just ended up eating into the side of the aluminum there, and it just is not going to come out. So we got us a nice new one there, and you can see we didn't have enough thermal compound on there, thermal paste. We'd already planned to address that, so it's a great time to go ahead and take care of that. This whole thing should be coated, so we'll get that coated, get this mounted on here, and then we'll get ready to put back on the golf cart. Now, flip all our cables, since these are labeled, we know right where they go. Battery negative. This one right here. Probably use some shorter bolts, but got laying around. Work just fine. Battery positives like that. We've got one that goes to solenoid and one that goes to the big old chunky FR switch. Might end up having to shorten that one. We'll see. Cover goes on it. For now. Now what you don't want to do is do this batteries hooked up. If you got lead acid batteries, thankfully for us, we've got the lithium here. Let's just turn it on and off with that button. So we're safe while we're doing all this. Get wiring harness plugged in, and we have our controller mounted again. So that's good. Next thing we're going to work on the other side over there. We'll get that buttoned up and we can keep moving on. All right, so this is the next step. This is the factory wiring setup. We've got power coming from the battery over here. Doesn't matter if it's lithium, lead acid, whatever. Comes into here. This comes over into the voltage regulator. Now what this does, it steps down from 36 volts down to 12 volts for the rest of the system. So the lights, the horn, all that needs 12 volts. So does the stereo we're going to put in here, as well as some lights around the wheels here. So what we need to do is have this providing 12 volts to these two bus bars over here. So we got a positive, we got a negative. Those are going to provide additional 12 volt power source to anything else that's put on this golf cart. So what we need to do is we need to take the output from this and connect it to here. So positive over here, negative over here, and that will give us places to, or distribution point to hook up for the rest of the accessories. So I'm not going to film this. It's pretty boring. Basically, we're just going to cut and put some new ends on here and make sure this is all tidied up. So I'll show you guys the end result once that's done. All right, so I figured I'd show you how I at least do one of these. We already clipped 2 wires for our 12 volt source. So first step, we're going to take our wire strippers, which those are kind of backwards there. Put that to the stop. And I just recently got these. I used to be the guy who would always use a razor blade or pocket knife or some wire cutters to just crimp around that insulation. And I still do that all the time when I don't have those available. So if I'm not at the house, but those just make it so much faster. So we've got that ready to go. We're gonna slide our heat shrink on. Now this heat shrink is adhesive line. You can't really see it, they all look the same. When we shrink this, you're gonna see some adhesive come out of it. It's gonna make a waterproof connection, at least where this is at. We've got that. Now you can buy these connectors already with heat shrink on them. I don't have them, I just have the cheapos. So what I usually do, sometimes you can do this by hand. Other times you're gonna have to use a pair of pliers. And sometimes you're gonna ruin this thing getting this little sleeve off, but if you're careful, pull it off just like that. So we've got that. Slide that on there. Take our pliers and we'll give it a crimp. Hear your knuckle pop, and you know you're good. We'll slide this up, we'll shrink it up right up to there, and then we'll be ready to connect it. All right, so we got our torch. Gotta be careful, this torch is really too big for this job, but we'll be careful where we're aiming it. I'd like to have gotten it up a little further. See if we can, there we go. And I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it on video, but there's a little adhesive that comes out of those. So it's not needed. This makes for a cleaner connection. And go ahead and attach that. And this will provide the negative side of our power distribution here. Go, nice clean connection. All right, so we got all this buttoned up. I'm filming this way because we just put the body on as well. Voltage regulator, we got this mounted down to the bottom here. Positive, negative rails. Just zip tied everything up here so everything's nice and secure. Still gotta figure out the reverse circuit, but that's not a big deal. And we finally have the body on. We got the rivets on there, holding everything together. Just took it for the first test drive. It does 14, which for being a stock series golf cart, pretty happy with. So this thing looks really good. It'll look a little bit different once we get the back seat kit on. So, but all in all, I couldn't be happier with this thing. It's gonna be an awesome cart. This thing should be for sale here in another week or so. So a few more small things to wrap up, but she's coming along.